welcome everybody. You are watching the Askbonbon show and I am your host, Bonnie Bruder, where we bring you real conversations about what matters most and introduce you to the people and the tools to create a life that you love. Today we are talking about one of my favorite topics, and we have an incredible guest for you that not only is a very talented professional, but also is following his dreams and making both work. I would love to introduce all the viewers to Mr. Alan Chan.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So tell our viewers what you do for your day job.
I'm a lawyer. That's what I do for my day job. I have my own practice in Queens, New York.
Okay.
And I've been doing it over, I don't even want to admit it, maybe 34, 35 years of being a lawyer. And I've had my own office for about maybe 30 of those years.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're also very involved in the entertainment community.
That's right. I am a SAG and AFTRA and Equity all-union actor. And I also keep myself busy with my own individual projects as well.
Okay, fantastic. So I know that you've appeared on Saturday Night Live. You have, I think, been on Nickelodeon for a comedy show. Can you tell us just a little bit about your journey and some of the projects you've been involved with?
Well, for Saturday Night Live, I basically did some extra work this season on it. They called me for a few other bits to do, but I couldn't go down because I had to do legal work or I had a court appearance or something like that. But that's always fun. It's the top comedy show in the nation, so I like to make myself available for that. I can't do extra work all the time because I have such a heavy schedule at my legal work. But yes, I'd like to make an appearance on Saturday Night Live. I like to see how they do things. I also recently appeared on the Food Network, which was a show called America's Worst Cooks, of which I am one of the worst of the cooks. And I know that because it's like I think it's a 6 or 7 episode cycle for them. And I was on the 3rd season, and I was kicked off the 1st episode.
Well,
so that means I must be a pretty bad. Thank you. Thank you. I pride myself on that. But we did get mentioned as the best of the worst, meaning my episode was one of the funniest episodes of the run of the show, and that show's still on. So if you have a chance, check it out online. I think the episode is still up. It's the 1st episode of season 3.
That is fantastic. So what did you make?
What I didn't make. Apparently I made it, but I didn't make it right. I made some type of a waffle concoction, and I can't even remember, but I know I did it wrong according to Ann Burrell, who was my team leader and who was the one who threw me off the show. And yes, I still hold a grudge. So if she's watching, if you were on this show, I'd throw you off, Ann. Simple as that.
Maybe we'll have her on the show and we'll do a cooking expedition. We don't know. We don't know.
If she has Ann Burrell on this show, I'm not coming back. Simple as that. But in any event, I was on that show, and that was fun. And I also did Nickelodeon. I was on a show called Hijinks, where we pranked kids. It was like Punked. You know the show Punked?
Yes. I
pranked kids, and I pretended to be like a phone salesman, a cell phone salesman, and we had the biggest phone in the world, and the parents were in on it, and I would give all sorts of special deals if the parents would buy the phone for the kid. And it's such an oversized phone, no kid wanted it, so that was pretty funny. And then I did a show where I pretended to be with the Board of Education, and I was putting kids on lie detectors. And the parents gave us some stories about what the kids did, so I would ask them, like, did you cut school early and your mother had to bring you back and this and that? And he's like, no. And then we'd hook him up to the lie detector. And of course the lie detector guy was in on it too, so he'd be like, no, he's lying, you know, that type of thing. So that was kind of a fun show to do too.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
So you've worked on some really exciting projects. What do you have going on these days?
I'm right now doing the Alan Chan comedy team, of which you've been on one of our shows as well with the team and rehearsed with us. And that's a monthly show at the Broadway Comedy Club in New York City. And we have one coming up March 4th, actually, and we'll do them periodically in March. And hey, this is not a promotional show, but if anybody's in New York and is interested, get in touch with Bonnie, right?
Yeah.
You give out your contact information on this show, right?
I do.
And Bonnie will let you know when we have our next show at the Broadway Comedy Club. I direct the group, and I also star in the group, if you will. I host the shows, and every now and again I'll jump in an improv too.
Yeah, so we've done another show on talent, and we had a couple of improvisers here also from your team. And
who'd you have?
We had Rocco and Christina.
Oh, all right. They're very good.
They are
funny people, some of our best members.
They are very funny. So what a lot of people don't realize is even though improv is improv, but there is a lot to it. It's not easy. It's a very challenging art. What are some of the rules so people that are watching can understand a little bit about improv comedy?
Well, contrary to what you may have thought by watching Robin Williams or people like that, a lot of improv is listening and reacting. It's not necessarily driving a scene or coming up with a funny impression or doing crazy faces or jumping around. A lot of it has to do with the realness of a situation. So if you and I are husband and wife, and you start the scene off with, hey, you didn't eat the soup, you didn't like it? You know, I can't go, well, we're not really talking about soup. That would be a denial. I have to say yes and to you, meaning I have to accept your offers and then build on those offers by not denying you. If you say we're in a car and we're driving, I can't go, no, we're not. We're at the mall and we're looking over the rail. That's not good improv most of the time. So the rules would be very simple, actually. They would be listening, acting and reacting, have real feelings under imaginary circumstances, like any kind of acting. Also saying yes and, accepting the offers that you give me as your partner gives to you in a scene. And then also having in your back pocket a slew of abilities that might turn a laugh, such as characters or timing or faces or being able to have a quick retort, but being real in that moment. That's what improv is about.
Interesting. Yeah, I had talked on a previous show how I discovered improv because I was reading Tina Fey's book, or I was listening to it on audiobook, Bossy Pants, and she talked about improv and how it truly changed her life. It changed absolutely everything. And so it was so interesting to learn all of these rules, having been a trained communicator and speaker. And, you know, some of the principles are so similar. And I believe if you apply those things in life, you listen to people, you accept offers, and you work with people where they are, it really can make your life a lot easier.
Right. You can see that there are some people in life who script write before they go into a situation, and they have everything set out as to what they want to say and how they're going to react if this happens or that. And that's not improv. That's script writing. We also have people who do grandstanding, which means they'll talk endlessly in a scene. So if you and I are husband and wife again, and I'll come in, well, Bonnie, you know, I'm tired of you supporting me. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to get a job. And let me tell you something about that job. That job is going to be something I enjoy. That would be grandstanding. I don't give you a chance to react to me and have your moment. And as you know, in improv, Bonnie, if that happens, usually the rule is let them go on and talk, and then you'll have your opportunity. And usually the person who just reacts and comes back after the big speech gets the biggest laugh. Because that's just a rule of improv, that somebody's grandstanding, you just be silent and react until it's your turn. And usually you'll come up with something good.
Well, it works in life too. That's fantastic.
I don't know anything about life. I only know about improv.
I imagine. I imagine you do.
I don't want to talk about life like I'm an expert because I'm still living.
So I'm curious because you are somebody who has been able to pull off. You've followed a lot of your passions. You've followed a lot of your dreams, and you've been able to star in a lot of shows. You've been able to create this comedy team and really do what you love. Yet you're still, doing what pays the bills and your day job. What advice do you have for people that are, that have a dream and have a vision but don't think it's possible because they're stuck in a job or they're doing what they're used to doing? What advice do you have to let them know what that's all about?
Well, contrary to what you see on some of the award shows where people have reached the pinnacle of their success, like we just passed the Oscars, for instance, and somebody goes up and says, follow your dreams, no matter what. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to put your dreams on hold in order to establish a base. You can keep the fire burning, and maybe, for instance, myself, there were times when I didn't even have enough money to pay my rent. Even with my law firm being what it was, we were just in a quiet period. And so during that period, I always kept myself kind of fresh about something with show business. So for instance, I'd go back to some of the books that I read when I was preparing to be an actor, and I'd read those while I was struggling to just make enough to pay the office rent and pay my own rent and so forth. So it sounds corny, but the idea of never giving up your dream, maybe that has to be tailored a little bit. It's true, don't give up your dream, but on the other hand, you may have to adjust sometimes how you pursue your dream in order to survive, in order to not have to depend on other people to support you and things like that. I know we have a lot of people in show business who are living off of their parents, or they do jobs they don't want to do, like waitressing and stuff like that. And it is difficult. Even for me, as I said, I can't go to Saturday Night Live every time they call because I have legal work I have to do.
Right. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. You know, when I worked with Tony Robbins, we would put on this Firewalk seminar, and people would come and they'd spend 4 days and they were transformed. And then you'd see them at the next event, they're like, I quit my job, or I left my husband. And we're like, no, that's not exactly what the message was. It was learn what you want out of your life, define it, and then figure out a strategy and a plan to do that. And I think that's why so many people struggle. You see, especially here in New York, there's so many struggling actors and living on couches and not able to eat, but it's because they don't see that there's another way. There's a way. I mean, I myself am someone that also follows my dreams, but I also work 7 days a week. I'm constantly busy making it all happen, so it looks like you can just live your dreams. But I think that's a really great message to send to people, because there is always another way. It's not just black or white. There's gray. We live in the gray.
Well, what happens is when we live in the age of, especially with the internet and media, of the soundbite. And what people try to present to you is just a quick statement, a cliche to get you through it. But cliches don't really work. What really works is hard work and the ability to act and react, as you said, improvise in situations where maybe things aren't going to go so right. Like your health may start breaking down. You may have tragedy in your family. You may not be getting along with a significant other. All of these things, if you try to just hang on to your dreams while you have these other problems that you must deal with, it might actually turn you against your own dream. You might remember the time that, oh yeah, when I wasn't getting along with my first wife, and then I was struggling to do stand-up, and they kept telling me I could only do 2 minutes, and I'd have to wait till the end of the night. Oh, I'm never going to do stand-up again. It can become like that. If you don't have your head right when you're pursuing a passion, it may not come out right either. You have to know the difference between being set in a situation where you have a passion, but you have to be realistic about that passion, and having to, as I said, survive, having to make your living or deal with family situations that you have to deal with. I had to deal with recently putting my mother in a nursing home. At the same time, I was going in and doing our rehearsals, as you know.
Right.
And that wasn't easy. But I was able to, because I've been through so many things, I was able to compartmentalize the two and say, okay, right now I'm dealing with my mother and the trepidations of doing the paperwork and talking to the nursing home and the Medicaid and this and that. And then at night, when I'd go out and do our rehearsal, I just switched that off. Now, not everybody's able to do that, and the reason I'm able to do that is because I've been through so much more difficult situations where I wasn't able to do that.
Right. Wow, it's really great advice. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing your story, and hopefully it will inspire other people. It's funny because I love when people always say, oh yeah, you can have it all. You can have it all. Well, you can, but a lot of times you have to work really, really hard to have it. So it's great to hear that there's people out there like you that are moving and shaking and making things happen.
I'm making it happen. I'm sacrificing. I'm working hard. And for the amount of time that I've done it, I should be famous already. But we'll see. I'm not giving up, that's for sure. That's one thing. Don't give up.
Well, you're on the Askbonbon show. I mean, that's pretty famous.
Getting there, getting there. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. We will be right back with some extra special talented surprises.